This is Jane Marie.
And this is Soko.
You are now listening to the Queer Ambition Podcast.
The Queer Ambition Podcast is the only podcast celebrating rising LGBTQ professionals,
providing advice on navigating the modern workplace,
and discussing polarizing topics within the community.
Now listen up.
All right. Welcome to the Queer Ambition Podcast. We have Lexi here today, and I'm going to just introduce her to you guys really quick. So Lexi produces research and records digital narratives which highlight the barriers that prevent communities and individuals from freely accessing their rights and social inclusion. After working for the past 10 years in development and humanitarian emergencies with the United Nations and various international NGOs, Alexis has recently embarked on a new project which she has founded entitled Queer Here, a project she hopes will make visible queer cultures, histories, and experience from around the world. So funny. My Alexa, when I say Lexi or Alexis, every time it's like, sorry, I'm not sure. And we're not going to do that intro again. Just blame technology, guys. I apologize in advance.
No worries.
Welcome, Lexi, to the podcast, guys.
Welcome to the podcast, Lexi.
Hi, Jill. Hi, Soko. Thanks for having me. I'm super happy to be on the podcast, on your podcast, and your video podcast series. I guess it's really cool because it's also helping to carve out spaces for queer folks to highlight the work that they're doing and the lives that they're living. So, yeah, much appreciated.
Lexi, do you identify as queer or lesbian or bisexual?
I identify as queer myself, yeah.
And do you prefer she and her for pronouns?
Yes.
Okay. All right, just making sure.
Cool. Can I ask a question?
Okay.
Because I love that when we ask, like, are you, queer, lesbian, gay, no matter who we're interviewing. And I feel like when people describe themselves as queer, everyone has kind of their own definition because it's kind of an umbrella term, queer. So what is your definition of queer for you?
Yeah, for me, it's, queer is like, for me, I don't want to be confined by the gender or binary of sexuality that we have. So for me, it's anything that sits outside of that, and that's what the project highlights. And so for me, it's not. It's being outside of the norm, I guess.
Right. Okay.
I am
all right,
totally
cool.
aligned with that. Yeah. All right. So we're going to kick it off with just some icebreaker questions just to get you used to the way that we're going to just kind of spitball with you. It's very much a conversation we're going to have today. So the first icebreaker question for you is, if you wrote a book, what would it be called?
Oh, man. If I wrote a book, what would it be called? Ooh, guys, can you go first? Give me a break. That's a tough
one. No, that's a hard one. Like, I'm sitting here trying to think myself.
Yeah.
All right, so I'll go first, and then Soko will go, and then you're going to answer, okay? We're going to give you some time.
Okay. All
right, so if I wrote a book, it would be called Never a Woman. Never a woman.
And why is that?
So I've been asking people that have been like just a little bit more mature and like older than me since I was young if they felt like they were a woman. And I always had this like complex of feeling like I'm never going to feel like a woman and whatever that means. Mm-hmm. So even just yesterday, someone asked me if I felt like a woman, and I said, no, I still feel like a girl. I still feel like a little girl.
Wow.
So it's going to be called Never a Woman because I'm struggling to understand what that means to different people and to myself. And I'll never get there. So
that's interesting. I think a lot of I certainly identify with that as well. I think a lot of other women do, and I think it's because society does infantilize women and treat us as girls, and even in the boardroom referred to and treated in such a way. So that's really powerful. Thanks.
Soko.
Wow. All right. So you say never a woman. I'm trying to think. So the first, I'm going to be honest, because you know I'm crazy. The first thing I thought about was love, sex, and games. Okay. Because love is great.
Games. Why games?
I'm going to get to games. Love is amazing.
All right.
And sex is amazing. And I say games because I really think life is a game. I think it's all about how you play it and what levels you get to and how far you make it. I really think life is a game and we're all just playing this game called life. So yeah, love, sex, and games.
Nothing wrong with that.
Wow, good one. Damn, you guys are good. I guess mine in a somewhat similar vein. I think mine would be has no 5-year plan. Or Lexi, no 5-year plan or something. Because for me, like someone just asked me not long ago, they're like, well, how did you get to doing the work that you're doing and the career that you have? And I was like, I never had a plan for that. It's something that I never had a plan for. My mantra is just continue to do what you enjoy, learn about what interests you, learn new things all the time, and an opportunity will come. So for me, it's worked so far. It's not always easy, but yeah, I think yeah, that would be my.
I love that because I think a lot of us struggle with, trying to figure out what are we gonna do? What's our next move? What's the next plan? Or how should I be living? So not having a plan is awesome. I would love to be able to live that way. I don't know.
Yeah.
I struggle with that's awesome.
You have a 5-year plan?
I mean, okay, so I wouldn't say I have a 5-year plan, but I feel like there is kind of a plan. There's like a framework rather.
Things that you want to achieve.
Yes.
Yeah. Interesting. Cool.
Okay. The next question for you, Soko. Who is your role model?
So for a long time, I don't think I had a role model, but in the recent, I think 3 years, I don't know if you guys have heard of her, but Bozoma St. John, she was the marketing executive for Apple Music. And now she recently just joined Uber. And just because I think she is African, also very smart and beautiful, and also dark skinned, I think for me, I relate a lot to that. And I aspire to be like her one day. And if you guys have never heard of her, she has a TED Talk. And that's when I first fell in love with her. I think it was 3 years ago. So Boz St. John.
Yeah, I follow her on IG. She is awesome.
I love her.
Lexi, who is your role model?
I don't know. I really, at this point, I feel like I don't really have role models. In terms of people that inspire me to do better, and to do better work, to do work that contributes to community, have been people that I have met along my way and in my research. People that I've met, mothers that I've met in villages in Afghanistan that are trying to raise and feed their children with like nothing. People that are living in rural areas and don't have access to any medicines, and they're helping their community try and access medicines. Those are the people that sort of motivate me and inspire me. I don't think I look to any one role model. I think I get a lot of different things from my friends. I have friends that really role model to me emotional maturity and spirit, give me insight into their spirituality and inspire me to deepen that within myself, but not any one person. Yeah, I think it's like a collective of people.
Yeah, so I have to agree. I do not have a role model at this time. I wish I had someone as cool as you do, Soko, but I don't.
No one. Like, there's no one. I know that we both relate when it came to growing up and not having any role models and just aspiring for ourselves and being motivated by ourselves. But there's no one that you can relate to nowadays. No one that they're doing great work. It could be in social media that you really look up to the work that they're doing.
Yeah, but I mean, there are tons of people, but I don't know necessarily that they're role models for me. Like, I don't know that I really honestly identify with anybody in those positions. So no,
all right.
Not right now. Not to say that someone won't come along.
I mean, I want to challenge that because is a role model someone that you have to actually relate to, or maybe they could just be doing one thing that you really, I don't know. I just feel like there has to be one person. And I don't want you to say nobody.
You don't want me to say that. So
no, like there has to be one person that you can be like, whoa, or they're not a role model, but I relate to them in this way.
No.
Okay, fine. Next. Next.
What is your favorite song of 2018 so far and why? I'll go first. My favorite song of 2018 is Janelle Monáe, I Like That.
Really?
Yes. It's actually my song for my birthday song for this year. I Like That. Well, so like the album, I don't know if you've listened to it, any of you have listened to it in total, but I just think this was probably one of her best bodies of work for Janelle Monáe. I love her as a human being. I love her message. I love everything she stands for. She's awesome. Also, the song just kind of speaks to me because everything in the lyrics is kind of hinting at her not being like normal or average or just going with whatever she like, going against the grain. And I kind of like that. And I fashion myself to be someone like that. So I relate and I love that song. I think it has a great bop and a great beat. And that's me for this year right now. Who wants to go next? Who has a song?
Oh my God. These are crackers. I've been so out of touch. So you go, Soko.
Oh my God. So like anytime I go after JL, she always gives like this great response that's like very like classic and meticulous. And I'm just going to be like, my song of the year is Cardi B, Drip Drip, okay? So far. That is my song of the year. Fuck that shit. And yes.
Drip, I mean, drip, that's great. Drip, we need to twerk drip. Too.
Anytime I hear that song, I'm turned. I'm like, yes. No matter, I will come to the room like, can't you drip it? All right.
Well, I haven't heard many songs this year, but one I have heard has been Cardi B's album. I did listen to that very quickly, and that was I mean, it's cool. Like some of it's got a good to bop to. And then a couple of days ago, I downloaded the Childish Gambino song, This Is America. And was blown away. Like I didn't really, there were some other songs that he'd sung before that had a great beat and I was like really into it, but also like some of the lyrics were problematic about the language around women and but this song, I think, is really, for what it is stirring up a great debate right now, or keeping the debate alive around race in America. And I think it needs to be had, and around gun control and around, all of those important things that need to be kept in the media. So, if this is his last album, like I hear it's meant to be, it's a big one. Yeah. So,
nice.
So I haven't heard much, but I have heard that one. Yes.
That's fine. I'm aligned. I'm with you on it.
Yeah.
All right. So let's dive into this interview. So first, where are you from and how did you end up in Guatemala?
I'm from Australia, most recently Melbourne, but I haven't been living in Australia for over 10 years now, I think, or almost 10 years now. I ended up in Guatemala via my work in the humanitarian and development sector. So I've been working in international development and humanitarian emergencies, for the last 10 years. And that took me to places like Lesotho, Liberia, Haiti, Afghanistan, and a bunch of really cool places that I've been privileged to be in. And then this project brought me to Guatemala, basically. So the Queer Here Project's first or premiere feature will be on Mexico and queer life stories and cultures in Mexico. And I have I'm just wrapping that up. and I'm doing my post-production here in Guatemala for a couple more weeks, and then hopefully off to El Salvador to pick up some more stories to keep the project running.
Nice.
Wow.
So that sounds great. You're on the move, you're visiting all these countries, and now you're starting your career and trying to make a different impact, not just by what you're doing for a career, but kind of a passion project. What inspired you when you're here?
So for the last 2 years, I've been working specifically in education and gender at the UN headquarters in New York. And I'd always thought about doing my own independent documentary project with the queer community, but really those last 2 years lit a fire under me. And they lit a fire under me and highlighted the urgency for me to do this project, because when I would enter meetings and we were talking about gender, we were still talking about gender in binary terms. And these are like high-level meetings where we're deciding how education interventions roll out globally, or how medical interventions are rolled out, dealing with issues of forced migration, and we're left out of those conversations. And so that's something that really forced me to think I need to work on carving out spaces for queer people and queer identities and culture and history, because this space right now is being occupied, or at least at that level, the space was being occupied by, largely gendered, heteronormative people from the global north. So we just weren't in the room at all, and queer persons organizations often weren't in the room. So that's what sort of pushed me to go, now the time's now, and to take some of my networks to reach out to other activists across the world to really, highlight those stories that don't get highlighted.
Yeah, that sounds great. And I like the name Queer Here. It's catchy. So how'd you get to that name?
I don't know. I'd been really thinking on this project a lot, and one day it just popped into my head, and I just went, that's so crazy simple. That's it. What is it like to be queer in this space here and now? And what has it been like to be queer here in this space for people? And here in ourselves as well. So it just resonated. I don't know what it was. It stuck. Other sort of titles sort of flew in and out, but I thought this really sticks to where I feel like I wanted to go with the project, and helped to define it a bit more. And so, I popped it in my notes on my iPhone, and I was like, I'm going to come back to that when I'm ready. And after I wrapped up a few more projects at work, I just started, it stuck, and I just started working from there.
So we reviewed some of the clips that you've put out there so far.
Yeah.
And we can really see the passion you have for telling stories, for telling other people's stories, and kind of shining light on issues that people aren't often speaking about. But what has your experience been as a queer woman?
My experience, I guess it depends in what space. In the humanitarian space, it's isolating. There are often times where it's not safe for me to divulge anything about my gender, my sexuality, my partner. I can't share things. See, when I'm working in countries like Afghanistan, it's something that I can't do, not only for my own security, but for that of my colleagues. And it feels like then there's always sort of like a barrier. So I feel like being queer has been in those spaces for such a long time has been, isolating. And I think it really does something to, how when you can't express your identity, or you're hiding parts of your life from other people that others can freely discuss and share and build relationships off. I don't know, it causes, you to keep things inside. I remember when I first went to New York after living in Haiti and all these other countries where, I did live largely in the closet. I felt still very, I felt very conservative about my expressing my sexuality and my gender and holding my girlfriend's hand. And, so I think it does something to you. I don't know. It kind of, it stunts you in terms of how you reach out to other people, how you interact with other people. And I think that sort of colors a lot of things in your life and the decisions that you make and how you build relationships. And I don't think that's in a healthy way. And, that's just, that's my very, very minute, small taste. And I have the privilege to escape those settings. But, these are the experiences that people have, and it's their complete life. It's everything, they're completely living in the closet, or if they're not in the closet or not able to freely, or if they are expressing themselves freely or as they want, then they're, they're living with violence and threats of violence. So for me, it's been fairly isolating the last 10 years, but there have been really amazing spaces where, being queer has been something that I've been, that I've felt happy to be able to celebrate with other, in conversations with other activists and other queer people, sharing our experiences,
So it's really leaving Melbourne that kind of forced you back into the closet in a sense. In some instances, yeah. In most of the countries that I lived, I remember when I first left to do my first posting, and it was in Lesotho. Lesotho is a small country surrounded by South Africa. And the advice to me when I left for my job was, don't come out of the closet. People are still murdered there for being gay. Absolutely don't come out of the closet. And I didn't for about a year with my colleagues. And then finally, they pick up on things that, that this person that's living with me, maybe there's something going on and it's my partner. And so I came out to them, and I was, really surprised. Also, I had really great moments of support from people where they're like, well, yeah, I didn't agree with this previously, but now I do. And, and so there've been some really really unexpected and good connections with people as well through that. Yeah. It's largely been in the closet, that's for sure.
Yeah. So, you told us this story about, your experiences as a queer woman, but you're also telling other people's stories that might be going through these same type of things in different areas of the country. Just released this new trailer on YouTube about a trans woman living in Mexico. Why did you feel like that was a story that you needed to tell?
Yeah, I mean, that's Michelle's story. Michelle had a whole story, and that's just one snippet. I think that was a story that needs to be told because in Colima in Mexico, it's a western state, coastal state of Mexico. In Colima City, the capital, there'd been several murders of trans women in the last 6 months alone prior to me doing that interview. And hundreds in the last 5 years alone. As I think it's stipulated in the more detail is written in the underwriting of the interview. But I thought it was important to give space to trans women and some of the struggles that they're currently, or trans people in general that are currently dealing with in Mexico. Mexico is interesting because it has this facade of progressivism when it comes to queer rights. And of recent years, they've, right to marriage, and you legally change your birth certificate and your gender. But really, the reality is that it's not easy, and it's not in all states. It's not across all states. And Michelle had actually had to travel to Mexico City and register having a residence in Mexico City to be able to change her gender on her birth certificate and have that done. So, her story highlights, where they're at politically, where Mexico's at politically right now, and some of the discrimination that she faces still in the street today.
All right, yeah, I watch it. J. Marie, you watched it too. Did you have any thoughts on it?
So it seems like there's definitely a political aspect to it as well, which really aligns with what we're currently going through in the United States as well. So we can definitely relate. Of course, trans women are murdered so. There's such a high frequency, even in the United States. And a lot of times it goes unnoticed. It'll fly completely under the radar.
Yeah.
Usually it's trans women of color. Usually they're also sex workers. So there's so many reasons why they choose not to disclose this information. And it's just devastating and heartbreaking. So
exactly.
With all of those, with all of that to be said, it's kind of like a triumph when you even can see someone like Michelle that is living in her truth, despite all of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And especially when, I interviewed many trans women and they're still in Kalima and their stories will come out as the project rolls out. But especially, amazing when that they can't report often the violence that they experience to police because they just become further victimized by police and the criminal justice system. So it's really incredible. It's incredibly brave.
So we know your website.
No, I want to ask my question first. Okay. So when can we expect Michelle's story on YouTube?
So the project should roll out in late June. Okay. We'll have the full Mexico feature. It'll all pop up there. So right now there's just a bit of a coming soon on the website. But you can see some of the trailers through the socials and the icons are on the site. But yeah, we hope to have a bunch of maybe about 10 stories up then. So it's podcasts, it's video interviews, it's transcripts. We're doing a piece right now on gender identity in the Musha community, which is in Juchitán in Oaxaca. So got some really cool, interesting pieces coming.
And what are you most excited for your audience to experience when everything is out there?
I'm most excited for the audience to really interact and learn about some of the very different experiences of people all across Mexico and how varied the cultures and histories are there. So yeah, I'm really excited for that. And I'm excited for hopefully what's an ongoing conversation. And really, I hope it's something that's valued. I hope it's something that's relevant and that people want to continue to be a part of. And so excited just to hold space, I guess. Yeah.
And Queer Here is just beginning. You're about to launch your website. You're about to come up with all these beautiful stories. But where do you see Queer Here and your ultimate goal? Let's say 5 years from now.
In 5 years from now, I would really like to see it grow, the network grow, and I'd like to be able to have funding to be able to support a whole team of queer designers, videographers, editors, people that can go out into the field and help record the stories of queer people all over in the most remote of places. So really, I hope that we can grow a team of 10 or more people out there just gathering stories so that we can consistently and rapidly report. And that's what I really want to see. And I want to see us cover, as many countries as possible. So yeah, what can I hope for in 5 years? I don't know, Mexico, I went for one story and it was the plan to to get a few other countries' stories up at the same time to launch with those. But it just there was so much that people wanted to share and so much that needed to be said and recorded and documented, really. So yeah, let's see how we go.
How does someone like you rest? And I mean, not rest, take a nap. I mean, what? Because I'm thinking you've seen so much. You've traveled all around the world. You're hearing these stories, sometimes tragic stories, sometimes amazing stories. But what does it look like for you to relax, to not, what? I can't imagine what, because you're already in a way, in the vacation spots that people will go to, or where people go to.
Right.
So what does that look like for you?
I know. I feel I think, it's cliche, but really I'm doing what I love, and I feel so privileged. I wouldn't, I wouldn't think of doing anything else. And I think that when I was starting out, I was really focused on, I just want to do something that I love. I want to make my work something that I love doing, so that it's not work and, total cliche, but, it's something, when you have a passion, and I guess it's like you both with these podcasts, when you do it, it's not work, and there's joy in it and there's pleasure in it. But, to relax, I don't know, I used to run and I used to hike, but now I'm just I feel really great satisfaction right now when I finish editing a piece, and that to me is just that's relaxing. So maybe Netflix that comes after that is the relaxing bit. I don't know.
I think one day we'll see you on Netflix. We'll see all these.
No, for sure.
I hope that, I really, it's not something that I want to be in the front of. And I want to emphasize that. Yeah, I want to emphasize that, this isn't a space that I need to take up. My story is not important here in the scheme of all of these stories. So this is something that it's a project that, I've started and I'm shepherding. I'm just sort of shepherding it into a shape and a space that other queer people can own. And proudly, so far, everyone that's been involved in the project have been or identify as queer, identify as queer. And that's something that's really important to me. And I hope that it just can be, a queer-owned piece. So a collective, a movement, yeah.
You're doing great work. Absolutely.
Thank you so much. You guys are also doing amazing work. It pales in comparison what I'm doing. It's really cool. I've been loving your videos. I've been absolutely loving your videos, and I'm following all of these, different people doing there's a new show called Queero, the show, which is documenting or doing interviews on queer themes and topics. There's this CYC podcast series where these two Latino girls are talking about queer representation in films and movies. So many people are from the queer community are occupying or taking advantage of podcasting and social media to really occupy and take up more space. If we can't be in the room, then we can create it in the digital sphere. And I think that's just so amazing, super amazing. So
we deserve a
seat to you guys. Yes, absolutely. Not just one. We need to be the majority.
Yeah, for sure. So is there anything that you want to let the people know? Anything you have, any upcoming projects, anything that you want people to know about? Upcoming projects. So soon we'll be working on a story in Venezuela and queer people that are involved in political activism there. So we're going to be in Venezuela, Russia, Ukraine, Israel. So if anyone has any leads, then please get in contact at contactqueerhere@gmail.com. You can find the form on our website, which is www.wearequeerhere.com. Just for everyone to stay tuned to the work. And if you have any story leads or submissions from anywhere in the world, then
definitely send us an email because we want to get as many stories up as possible.
Yes, and we're going to put all of that in the description. That's again, contact queerhere@gmail.com if you know anyone that would like to submit and tell their story. She's just, globetrotting, so she'll probably make it to you at some point.
Exactly.
Yeah, and you can also find
Instagram and Twitter at @we_queer_here.
You're good.
My connection got unstable real quick, but I'm back again. But We are queer here. I love that name because it's so simple. We are queer and we are here. Now we need to make sure
exactly.
We are queer and we are here.
If I make them, I'm going to send them to you.
We are here and we are queer. Seriously.
So
much for joining us today.
No, thank you guys.
The amazing work that you're doing. I truly believe there is going to be Queer Here episodes one day on my television, and I'm so excited for when that day happens. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Next episode. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Jill. Thanks, Soko.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.